And welcome back to Open Studio. I'm Steve Lee. How are you all doing? So one thing you'll notice, excuse me, if you are here for the premiere, is that it's not a premiere. We're actually live, which is kind of exciting. So what I'm going to be able to do tonight is I'll be able to react with those people that are hanging around and watching the premiere. What you will notice if you're watching this after the fact is that there is no shiny graphics or the reference photo because all that's done in editing after. And since this is live, I can't do that. So hello, Dan Mayer. Hello, Rhea. Rhea, I got the end screen fixed, although you won't see that tonight because it's live, but I will get that all going. Brian Moore, what's up? Awesome. It's not going to be, I'm going to try to keep track of the comments, but this is going to be Open Studio, and we try to get stuff done. So if I seem like I'm missing stuff, that's why. Anyway, all right. So we're moving right along. We did this whole little block last week, which was great. So I'm gonna kind of jump up and do the next block, which is really kind of more of the same. So we're gonna be able to get a bunch done tonight, which will be really, really good. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut another photocopy just to see if maybe I can get something out of it. And if not, I'll get the next major landmarks, which are the next major biggest buildings as I get higher. And that will help me kind of, figure out what I'm doing here. Yeah, JC, so this is actually live, not not recorded. So that's also one other thing you will see is I am not in the comments like I normally am. So, hopefully, hopefully that'll go well too. Todd, good evening. What's up? Yay. Okay. So we're moving right along. A new photocopy here. Let's figure out what I'm doing. I didn't do the Dremel because I wasn't prepared. But there will be opportunities to get the Dremel thing going with this painting, and I'll do that. I didn't think of it tonight, so it's okay. Like I said, the Dremels, it just takes me a minute to go set it up and all that. So here's a reference photo, and yeah, there's this real nice tall building coming up. We are somewhere in this area right now, but there's some neat stuff going on. So audio seems choppy. Oh, okay, yeah, we're having a connection issue right now. Hopefully that'll clear itself up, and that's probably why it's choppy. But hang in there. Hang in there. We'll see if it works. All right. In the meantime, I'll just get going. I'll keep an eye on it. It does seem to be straightening itself out, so that'll be good. Usually, like I said, there's not too many problems with YouTube, which has been great with the lives where Facebook was totally falling apart. I'm doing this guy right here. Yeah, it should be much better now. I just saw everything kind of clear itself out. So thank you for hanging in there for that. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting out the lighter areas this time because I could see them better than I could see the dark areas. The dark areas seem to be pretty much everywhere up here. Try to knock out all this stuff here. So tonight's soapbox, I've been thinking about the past soapboxes, which has been great, but I also kind of realized that I was getting kind of serious, with my rants and all that. And I thought it'd be really good to take a step back and reset a bit. So the soapbox tonight is just about having fun with this stuff, and it's the most important thing. I get it. If you're doing this, oh, why did that go black? If you're doing this as a certainly as a career, you're trying to make money at it. It can get real serious, that kind of thing. But the bottom line is any type of creativity really is fun. Like, I don't know anyone who plays music and is angry when they're doing it, or, is a writer, or, a visual artist, or performance artist or whatever. And those people do it because, they I don't know. I've never seen them angry. It's like that old saying, that old saying that a bad day fishing is better than a good day working. It's really the case. So the thing of it is with this stuff, it has to be fun. You have to enjoy it. If you don't, it becomes exceptionally difficult. So that's what I wanted to kind of stress tonight, because, like I said, with yes, when you're taking it real seriously, you can take doing this stuff as seriously as anything, really, literally as anything. And some people do. Some people take it way too seriously. Um, and I mean, everyone does things differently, and that's fine. But really, this is supposed to be a good time, you know. And if you're not having a good time, then something's wrong. Trying to keep track here. There we go. Michael McClung, what's up, buddy? Bug, what's good? What's happening? Kyle Sheets, what's up? Death metal might get angry. Yeah, but they're not really though. They're still happy on the inside. I love gore. Um, yeah, and again, if it's your livelihood, it does take on a different kind of feel. Because it a lot of the parts of it become serious and stressful too. Like anything, especially in the creative field for making a career. It's I hate to say it's a luxury, but that's kind of the way people think about art. And if people aren't buying your stuff, well, it's true with, I guess, any business. If people aren't buying your stuff, it becomes extremely stressful extremely quickly. My dad was a big proponent of never monetizing your passions. Like, my dad was a great musician and never played for money. Like, he never got gigs and went out and played. He certainly could have, but he always felt that if he did that, it would become another job for him, and he already had a job, so he didn't want to do that. And that that there's certainly a lot to be said for that. Um, but it works the other way too. If you make it work, then it's that saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So there's that too. How are we doing here with this? I got a bunch cut out. This should give me enough. Show you what this looks like. So I think I've got a bunch enough to get this going for this episode. What we're dealing with here, when I do this, and this isn't anything that I'm not doing. I do this for myself the same way. This is about 3/8 of an inch worth of space. That's usually what I try to tackle. I mean, I wouldn't do like a whole bunch of it, like the entire thing, and then in each step, because I like to kind of finish it as I go. What else we got? Astral, what's up? Yeah, it certainly is. That's a whole other soapbox. Yeah, nice, Michael. Oh, the puns. Pain in the glass. Yeah, if you haven't seen what Michael is working on, he's taking I think that's a Drew Blair project. Is that true, Michael? In any event, he's painting it on glass, which is a whole bunch of other interesting shenanigans with that. You're in good shape with this, because I can see a couple of the things that are lined up. Drop the magnet on that, and we'll just go. Let me move this down a little bit, because we are working up there, sort of, kind of. The other thing you'll notice, we do have palette cam. You guys aren't going to get the reference photo. Again, that's a editing Steve thing, and editing Steve has got the night off because we're live. White. I need white. Do white. What else is going on? So that's the big thing with all this. And I felt not bad, but I realized that I was kind of getting into some, heavy duty stuff with, like, taking substrates seriously, and, even they're all important, giving credit where credit is due and all that. But, I want to take it a step back, that, you really should be enjoying this, or whatever you're doing, more than anything. And I do, like, it's funny when when I'm not working, I'm working. You know what I mean? It's like if I'm not doing I haven't done too many commissions in the past year, but when I'm done with a commission, I can't wait to get back on my stuff. You know. All right, so here's your white. And again, this is just a landmark. It's so funny because, you know, that like in this, I was talking about how some of this stuff, like the area we just did down here, when I pull this, I'll pull it now, is very like almost like abstract, you know. And I thought in my head, because I hadn't really looked at the reference photo, I thought that all this up here was going to be just all of it. It was just going to be, we got to a certain point where you're not going to see big buildings anymore. You're just going to see all this little stuff. But there are a ton of big buildings up here that you can make out. So this entire painting is going to be, is not, there won't be a part where it kind of turns into fluff, which is really, really kind of cool. I recently discovered the awesomeness of gesso. Isn't it nice, Brian? That's essentially what the Autoborn sealer does for me. It acts as a gesso, but it's much thinner. So, but if you lay gesso on it, then you can get in there and you can really sand it. You can add texture to it. It is quite the ground. It is really good. Oh, nice, Dave. I'm going to mow the lawn with Dave, so hang in there. That's good. I do love that too. So the back to having fun with it. So that's your underlying thing. So that's where you can get away with. Is that going to give me enough? Sorry, I'm scatterbrained right now. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start this little banana shape up here is a road. And I'm going to start there because I can see everything. Because all this stuff here is more of that tiny, like abstract neighborhood stuff. So that's what I was going to say. That the fact that, you know, this is supposed to be fun, or that it is fun, is what gets you through those difficult, you know, challenges. When you're doing something and it's a mess and you're having a hard time with it, the whole idea of doing it is still enjoyable. So that's what kind of levels it and lets you get it done. That's why it's so difficult to do this. You know, if you have someone standing on your head for a deadline, you know, if you've promised something to someone, or, you know, if it's a piece that's already been sold or whatever, you know, then there's a whole bunch of pressure on you for that to get that done. But if you're just doing it for you and you run into challenges, it's okay. You know, you just kind of, you're fighting through it. It didn't really work today, and, you know, maybe it's going to work tomorrow, and that's it. So that also ties back to what we were talking about last week with patience. You know, DB had said, you know, I had a lot of patience, and I really appreciate that. However, for me, this is just fun. You know what I mean? Like, even when I'm struggling with it, or if it's a painting like this, it takes a long, long time. I love sitting down to it, even though it seems like it's just, you know, going on and on forever. All right, I said I was going to do the roadway, but I also can kind of see what's going on with this little white thing here. So I'm going to do the road. I think that's going to be a good thing. Oh, here's another little quick treat for you. So here's a number, this is a 0 Winsor & Newton brush, and this is where the little banner would pop up at the bottom of the screen, but editing Steve can't do that because he's painting Steve today. This is a 0, which is the bigger size of the small brushes from the Winsor & Newton. So here is, so I'm pointing it for you. Here is a number 4 from the same series of brushes. Isn't that beautiful? Same hair, so now you can really see that Kolinsky hair. This is a very old brush. This was one of, there are 2 people I got these bigger brushes from, and this one is an older series, Series 7. You can tell by the label on it. But even after, you know, all its years, look at the point on that thing for number 4. That's crazy. So price-wise, if you're wondering, a 0 is probably about $22, and a size 4 is about $60. But worth it every day. Because actually, I'll show you. wet this out. So with a number 4, where are we starting? We're starting with let's start with that. So with a number 4, you still get, and these are round brushes too. Watercolor brushes are predominantly round. You can get them in different, just like regular brushes in different styles, but the round brushes are very popular. But even at this age and with this brush as it is, it can still do crazy tight detail. Now, I wouldn't use this brush all the time for this, just because, the 0 and the smaller ones, they actually do have, slightly better points or better points. But what's nice about this brush is it holds so much paint. It dries out very slowly, so I could paint and paint and paint with this, and it would just keep going because the belly keeps the water in the the liquid in the paint, keeps it from drying out, which is very cool. So this jumps back to buy good stuff, and you only do it once. Yeah, this is an exceptional brush. This makes me happy. I pulled it out because I was working with another painting that actually needed a bigger brush like that, which is fun. Let's see, what do we got? Astral, I can't say that. Crazy how Jesus serves to be covered with gesso. Yeah, right? Yeah, okay, Michael, it is a Drew Blair painting. That's awesome. Yeah, I thought I heard you say that when I was watching you do it. Just 0 is the lowest it comes. Yeah, JC, and that's what I was just kind of talking about with the 4. That's why I don't use the super tiny ones like 3/0 and 4/0, because they tend to dry out quicker. They're beautiful brushes. They're awesome. But they dry out quicker because the bellies are a lot smaller. They can't hold as much liquid. All right, so that's good. Oh, there are cars on that too. It was a bustling morning in Tokyo on this fine day, whenever this fine day was. Incidentally, I can now say this because it's official, but the young lady who took this photo is now engaged. So Lachlan, who this painting is named for, who took this photograph, just got engaged. So congratulations to her and her future hubby. What's his name? Sorry, I'm of course I'm kidding. It's Kellen. Kellen is a brand new. I don't know if he calls himself a barber. He does contemporary men's cuts, and just finished up his schooling, or is about to finish up his schooling, and is opening up his brand new barber shop down in Columbus, which is cool. So very happy for them. So Lachlan, when she was, what was it? It was last year? When did we start this painting? Last year? Might have been the year before. No, might have been the year before. Might have been her freshman year in school. Anyway, she went to Japan, and that's where this photo came from. She went to Japan for school. And, so she was kind. I think we talked about the framing for this. One of the things she brought back, which is always, a difficult ask for me when people go to places and I hit them up for rocks. She brought back a lot of really great little pieces of rock from Tokyo, which will eventually be the backdrop for this painting. And I think I've talked about this. It's always dangerous for me to ask people to do that because I've been stopped at TSA with a bag of rocks. So I don't want anyone else to get stopped, but it doesn't stop me from asking. And I've got some really cool stuff. So really good painting stuff. And a lot of times that's where these paintings come from. That's what determines what the next what the next city will be or the next place will be, is by, the rocks. I do have some from Los Angeles, so there will be a Los Angeles painting. I've got a bunch still from the New England area, so I've got a couple more paintings that way. And I'm going to start putting together a show, which will be a lot of fun. I'm going to need about 20 paintings altogether, which is a tall order because you've seen how long it takes me to do these particular paintings. So I have about 8 of them now, 9 of them now. So I'll still need to produce about 10 more. But it'll be worth it. I already have the title picked out, and it's going to be really cool. So what happens then is once I have the show and I have all the paintings ready to go, then I start pitching it. You put it all together and you approach different places and offer them the show, which will be a lot of fun. So I haven't had a solo show since 2011 was my solo show, last solo show, and that was great. So it's time for another one. There've been other jury things and shows along the way, but to have a solo show is a lot of fun. It's again, it's stressful and it's a lot of work and it's craziness, but it is really worth it. The hardest part about a solo show is having the work. You know what I mean? To have the body of work to do that. And it's not so much that I don't like. I have 20 paintings now that I could pull out, but with a show, I like to have a theme. So in this show that I'm kind of putting together, it's going to be all landscapes. There won't be any cars or motorcycles or anything like that. So that's what kind of makes it difficult, because you have all these paintings and you can't use them really because they don't follow the theme, which is fine, because there are other shows that you can get into and do stuff with that don't require that. So I'm excited. It's fun because it's a lot of there's a lot to it outside of even just doing the paintings. Like I'm thinking about the crate system that I'll use for all 10 or all 20 paintings, so that this show can go anywhere in the country. So if I can get a gallery in California to pick it up, or a museum in Illinois to pick it up, or whatever, I'll be able to ship the painting safely. So that involves building a crate for 20 paintings. Now, in my instance, it's easier because the paintings are small, and I can build a couple crates that will hold all the paintings. But still, that's now on the table. So again, it's a lot of fun, and it's, again, like everything. You have to enjoy it, and that's the thing. What am I missing? When is the $2 painting going back on the easel? Brian, that's awesome. As soon as I get through, I have three paintings that need to be done by November-ish. So I won't be able to get to them until after all that's done. So that's the $2 painting will be an end of the year thing. Oh yeah, no congratulations yet, because that's all work on my part. Oh no, congratulations about Lachlan. I get it. Steve, do you scrutinize your brushes when you buy them, or tip quality, you just take them for granted? Always good tips. Yeah, Astro, that's an excellent question. I'm going to jump through the rest of the comments here so I can jump back to painting. But yes, I'm going to get to that. That's an excellent question. Yeah, the brush tips are critical. It's like buying a dog from a breeder. The loudest and most playful goes home with me. I tend to think they get the best choice of them all. Yeah, exactly. Astral, it goes with the brand. So I'm sure you're familiar with Winsor and Newton. They are crazy good. So the consistency with them is always high. So I have no problem ordering brushes online. There's only been one instance, and it's been this last brush that hasn't been, that is kind of wonky. It actually acts like an old brush. It splits, and but that man, I've been using these same watercolor brushes for decades, and I never ever have a problem with them. So yeah. So to answer your question, Winsor and Newton brushes I would buy sight unseen. Um, and honestly, anything else, any other brand, I've bought other brands to try them out, and they're okay, but they never really match up to the Winsor and Newton brushes. But yeah, um, I think that's the answer. Because anything else, I'm not buying a brush to be scrutinized. I'll buy a brush like this, like the brush I use to clean out my airbrushes. And of course, this thing's beat, but this was a Filbert, I think. Yeah, it was a Filbert at one time, but it got munched to pieces because I needed to have a cool, smallish size brush to clean out the inside of my airbrushes. So obviously I wasn't picking, for quality on this one. I just wanted something with a decent quality bristle to not fall apart in the brush. And that's true with most of the brushes that I buy. I'm not expecting much out of them, so I don't have to look at them as closely. But yeah, the Winsor and Newton brushes have always been have always really been top notch. Oh, we only have 4 minutes left. Yikes, this goes by so fast. I don't think I've said it before. On these paintings, I mean, depending on how I'm working, I'll usually put in a few hours on a painting like this, and then try to give my eyes a break. So that's usually the length of time that I'll kind of go at these things. As I find myself, moving on in age, my eyes tend to get tired, and they still work great. Like right now, I'm working without magnification, and I'm not wearing glasses, so to do this. But my eyes do get tired, like I can feel it. The way I describe it to people, when you're really, really tired and your eyes burn, they feel almost like swollen. That's how I feel after I'm done, like with a good solid session with a painting like this. Even if I'm not tired, they feel like I've been awake for, 24 hours. So that's kind of how that works. All right, so that's that guy. Yeah, now we get into this kind of abstract modernist brushwork for the buildings. That black building is there. There's not much going on here. It's all small underneath it. So hopefully you got some out of the soapbox. I think, like I said, if you've been watching, and like I said, I've been taking it real seriously, and we've talked about a lot of heavy duty things. The bottom line, the absolute bottom line is just, you have to find a way to enjoy everything you're doing. Especially, God, if it's your hobby, what are you doing if you're not having a good time, The only thing well, I guess you can count exercise. Some people are really into going to the gym and they love it and have a good time, but it's a lot of work, you know what I mean? And I don't know if you're always having a good time, So, but still, the overall arching thing is that you're having a good time, or the results of having finished it are so great that they overpower the poopiness of doing it. And that's certainly exercise, No matter who you are, how you exercise, if you exercise, it hurts when you're doing it, but you're so glad you did it when you're done. Art isn't necessarily always like that, although sometimes it's like sometimes it's like that. Getting beat up, and then when you're done, you're like, wow. I guess this painting is probably a good example of that. When you're done putting in all the work, you sit back and you realize all the ground you've covered and everything you've done, and how that ultimately came out, and in the end, it's it overpowers any, like, I don't know, any stress or any discomfort that you might have endured while going through it. But again, for the most part, for God's sakes, have a good time. we should be pretty close right now. And we are. It's 8:30, but I'm going to, again, just because I don't want to forget this, we're going to airbrush this real quick. It'll only take a second, and then we'll be done. So again, as I'm getting ready to kind of finish up here, I'm going to do this while I'm painting because I don't have Editing Steve to put up all the cool end scenes and everything. For this little bit, I'm still going to use the Infinity CR because I still haven't fixed my Micron B. But I wanted to thank you all for being here. I wanted to thank you all for hanging out. You guys are amazing. If you enjoy it, definitely click that like and subscribe. If you'd love to become a member here, that'd be awesome to become part of the family here. You get a 10% discount on everything on the store. You get your name up in lights at the end. And unlike this week, when I have a Time-Lapse Tuesday, you get early access to that. Actually, you get early access to all the videos, but right now the only one that I post, like that is a time-lapse video. But if I ever get into, which I will, when I get back into Model Monday and all that stuff and Tech Tuesday, you'll be able to get early access to that too. All right. So now the rough part. Let me switch to this because I didn't want to move the camera. See how close the camera is to where we work. So I didn't want to take you on this ride because it looks really, really crazy when you're going through it. So I'll let you look at that for a second while I move the big camera out so you guys can see the whole thing. And that is where we're going to end for tonight. I will be back on schedule next week, so Editing Steve will be back on the clock, which will be good because we like our graphics. We like our extra bits and pieces. All right. So here's the whole thing right now. So yeah, again, we just knocked out that fingernail size block right there. We're just going to keep running across. What can I say about this? I'm super happy with it. It's going really well. Again, if you get a chance, and I can't put the picture up because, again, we're live, but if you go back and look at the Manhattan painting I did, that was the most intense cityscape I've done. This one is beyond that one, which is a lot of fun. And it doesn't always go that way. The Cleveland painting, which I really, really love, came between these two paintings, so it's not like every painting gets more and more detailed and crazy. Sometimes they have more stuff in them, sometimes they don't. But anyway, there you go. All right. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out with me. Click that like and subscribe. Do all those YouTube things. And I will catch you guys all next week. Have a wonderful week.